can't live by bread alone. Yeah, this word got food in it. Stepping on the devil dome, you should see the bruise in it. Backing out the scripts, told a demon to stand down. Go against the Most High, we gon' see how it pan out. The Father gave me hope, fill me with the ghosts. Now they hate it when I glow. Joseph with the coat, looking for their fruit, but they ain't got no cantaloupe. The Messiah over Lio, you can't be a fan of both. Can't serve two masters. Bread of heaven with the living water, yeah, he's serving up a truth platter. We ain't idolizing no folly, no, we setting up a new standard. When Christ touched down, make the whole earth shake like Bruce Banner. Yeah, bringing them troops to ya. End times getting spookier, warfare getting nuclear, mankind getting goofier. They intoxicated with a wine, damn, she done roofied them. I'm checking every word, spirit doctrine like a proofreader. I hate these Nicolaitans, hate these graven idols, man, I hate these flipping pagans. Try to play my father and I hate these imitations. Screaming out Hosanna, we escape that simulation. Better flee to me, vote these or else that lake is where you layin'. Great is he inside of me, casting out this net like I was by the Sea of Galilee. Harvest gon' be plenty, but the laborers are few. Matthew 17 and 20, there ain't nothing we can't do. I can't be no lukewarm, Fringes with the blue on. Devil wanna deal, but I told him this ain't Groupon. Praise to the Almighty, you know we gon' sing a new song. Hail the King of King, the Ultra Low, no Jimmy Neutron. If you keep his laws and his commands, then we can fellowship. I don't get with Pharisees and I don't rock with Hellenists. I ain't praising man, cause only Father get my reverence. I'm swimming in the word, it got me feeling like a yellowfin. Yeah, big stepper, Mr. Demon Chin Checker, trying to hear that well done, cause I feel that displeasure. Father pouring out the wrath, and he got a big measure. If it ain't about the kingdom, then I don't give a six letter. You got faith in the Messiah, you got power. I was clean up in that blood just like a shower. Isaiah 5, you were the vine that came on sour, but now we stand and giving glory in this hour. Yeah, we breaking them curses, fleeing the ways of the serpent. Follow his word and pray for discernment, cause they want us laying in hearses. We gotta rise up, raise and resurface, choose life and stay in your purpose. The price was paid like a merchant, through Christ who came as a servant. See, the kingdom is really the bag, but guess somehow they chasing a Birkin. After this you ain't getting a chance, while you living you can't better search him. Gotta call on his name like it's urgent, never knowing that day is emerging. So repent at the weight of perversions, judgment coming, that thing is for certain. Let's go.
Shalawam family, it's your brother Yasharahla from the House of Bread, and I have to give all praises, all glory, and all honor to the Most High God, whose name is YAHAWAH. Of course I do so in the name of his only begotten Son, Hamashiach, Yahawashi, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Make sure you make your way over to HIBofficialzion.com and get you a copy of the HIB, the Hebrew Israelite Bible. Shalawam, Kwam Yasharahla.
The Hebrew Israelite Bible is the first of its kind, restoring the names of persons, places, and things in the ancient Hebrew dialect, colloquially referred to amongst the Israelite community as the Lashawan Quadash. Most importantly, it preserves the Most High's name YAHAWAH in the Paleo-Hebrew script. The Hebrew Israelite Bible comes complete with all 80 books found in the 1611 King James Version Bible, including the Apocrypha.
House of bread. Feed the flock. No crumbs. Full plate.
Welcome to the house of bread, where the hungry get fed, living water overflowing, just like the prophet said. We don't fold, we don't bend, we stand on what was read. Built on stone, not the sand. Yeah, we break that bread. House of bread, yeah, the oil gets stirred. If you starving for the truth, come and get fed. House of bread, yeah, the spirit get lit. Ain't no famine over here, we fed. Yeah. From the dark, now we walk in the light. I'm on tight, yeah, we ready to fight. Word cut deep like a blade in the night. Truth so heavy, make the demons take flight. Line upon line, yeah, we build it precise. Sacrifice daily, we paying the price. No gimmicks, no hype, no rolling the dice. Just discipline, order, and living it right. We was lost in the mist, blind in the maze. Now we breaking them chains, setting the blaze. 12 on our mind, counting the days, standing firm through the pressure and haze. No milk in the cup, it's me for the strong. Correction hit hard, but it make you belong. From weak to a leader, it don't take long. When the bread is solid and the doctrine strong. Welcome to the house of bread, where the hungry get fed, living water overflow, just like the prophet said. We don't fold, we don't bend, we stand on what was read. Built on stone, not the sand. Yeah, we break that bread. House of bread, yeah, the world get spread. If you're starving for the truth, come and get fed. House of bread, yeah, the spirit get lit. Ain't no famine over here, we fed. Out in the cold, still teaching bold, precepts unfold, mysteries told, not chasing the silver, not chasing the gold, we chasing the kingdom, the prophets foretold, structure in place, you see it in stance, sisters in modesty, brothers advance, righteous example in every glance, not by luck, this ain't by chance, iron sharpen iron, spars gon' fly, correct with love, never let pride rise, tears in the night, but we still testify, from ashes we rose, now we unify, feeding the youth, restoring the men, building the nation again and again, law in the heart, not just in the pen, house of bread to the very end, break it, pass it, let it multiply. Open the blind eyes, watch them come alive. From the dust we rise, no compromise. Spirit inside we fortify. No famine here we supply. Truth so pure can't be denied. Stand on the rock we solidify. House of bread we unify. Storm hit hard but we stayed intact. Enemy watching, plotting attack. Foundation solid, we never crack. Scriptures loaded, yeah we react. Not here for fame, not here for views. Here to wake up the scattered juice. Cutting deception, exposing the news. Standing firm, we refuse to lose. Cam strong, unity tight. One body moving in power and might. Sword of the word, we swing it right. Turning the dark, straight in the light. From crumbs to lows, we multiply. From broken homes to sanctified. From dead inside to revived. House of bread, we alive. House of bread, yeah, the oil get spread. If you starving for the truth, come and get fed. House of bread, yeah, the spirit get lit. Ain't no famine over here, we fed. We alive. Yeah, welcome to the house of bread, where the hungry get fed, living water overflow, just like the prophet said. We don't fold, we don't bend, we stand on what was read. Built on stone, not the sand. Yeah, we break that bread. House of bread. So so good, be alive.
Yeah. House of bread.
All right, Shalawam, family. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, all glory, and all honor to the Most High God, whose name is YAHAWAH. Of course, I do so in the name of His only begotten Son, Yahawashi, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. It's your brother LionOfYahawah, joined by Kahan Kalaki, and we are the house of bread, right? Where we teach that man should not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. All right, all praise to the Most High. All right, family. So we got Passover coming up in a couple of days. All right, today, and we're going to dive into the House of Bread Feast Day calendar in just a bit. But we're going to also dive into Passover. What do you need to do in terms of prepping for Passover, right? Prepping for the Feast of Unleavened Bread and things of that nature. All right. So appreciate you brothers and sisters tapping in with us. Make sure you guys like and share the video, right? You sharing the video, you liking the video allows for these videos to circulate through the algorithm, right? And so that more of our people can come into the understanding of who they are, who they belong to. Right now, I'm not sure how many of y'all came into truth by seeing brothers on the actual street corners, like actually stopped, listened to a camp, right, bringing out the word on the streets, and then you actually came into the fold, right? That doesn't happen too often, right? The vast majority of us, from polls I've taken over the years, came into this thing, came to understanding that we're the Israelites through the internet, right? And when we look at biblical prophecies, scriptures talk about how knowledge shall increase in the last, right? And the internet has been a great tool in allowing for knowledge to increase, right? It's been a great tool that's been used to spread the gospel, right? Our King and our Savior and our Passover Lamb, Yahawashi, he said that the kingdom won't come until this gospel is spread to the four corners of the earth, all right? So again, through the internet, this is how this gospel has been able to get spread to the four corners of the earth, right? And as we like and share the videos, this is how we're able to, of course, reach our people so that they can get woken up the same way that we got woken up, right? So I actually want to take a look. We've got about 22 people in the chat right now. Put a 1 in the chat if you came into the truth because you saw a video on YouTube, right? And put a 2 in the chat if you came into the truth because you saw brothers on the street corners bringing out the word, right? Let's start there. Again, 1 in the chat if you came into this truth by seeing brothers on the internet, right? Seeing videos on the internet, learning that you're an Israelite. Put a 2 in the chat if you actually came across brothers on the street corners, right? And that's how you came into the truth. Yeah, shout out to the brother Gaha, soldier here at House of Bread. Yeah, he's one of very few brothers that came in off of just seeing us on the streets. All praise to the Most High, right? Brother Marquis said 3. My brother got me into it. All praises, right? All praises, right? But the vast majority, I see an overwhelming majority of 1s. All right. So again, this is why it's important for us to like and share the videos, right? Now, before we dive in real quick, let's go ahead. I don't know what's been going on. Freaking StreamYard had a change and it jacked up all of my scenes. Has scenes set up here. So I wanted to share a couple things before we dive into the topic. If you guys are not, again, if you're not subscribed to the channel, again, like I said, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button. Now, one thing is that YouTube, they love to not send out notifications, right? They love to not send out notifications, okay? Even if you're subscribed, a lot of times, you know, I'll be subscribed to a channel. I get unsubscribed from channels, right? Especially provocative channels. So we actually created a House of Bread broadcast channel on Instagram, right? So if you guys follow me on Instagram, my handle is at LionOfYahawah, right? It should be in my bio, but the link, if I'm not mistaken, should be in the description of this video, right? I also made a post on my channel the other day, right? About almost 2 weeks ago, right? You can go ahead to this post, just scroll all the way down, right? Go to post, scroll down, and you'll see that how you can join the broadcast channel, right? Whenever we go live, whenever new videos drop, we'll be releasing that information here on the House of Bread broadcast channel, right? So make sure you guys subscribe to that. Link should be in the description. Actually, let me go ahead, right? And I'll put the link right here in the chat for y'all, right? All praise to the Most High, right? So tap in with us here, right? Now, wanted to show a quick video. Shout out to the brother Shar Hayaman here, House of Bread. One of the best rappers in Israel. Right? I'm just gonna say that, right? So bro put out a tape about a year ago called Pain, right? And he should be dropping a new EP called Pain 2. That should be coming out Lord willing very, very soon. So if you're not subscribed to the brother, right, subscribe to him, right? I'm gonna put the link for this video in the chat as well, right? But we're gonna play it real quick. Like I said, we'll dive into the topic, right? But yeah, bro just dropped this new music video 5 hours ago, so make sure you guys run this up.
There's no sound coming through, bro.
No sound. Let me try again. Right. Let's run it back. Right. I'll make sure y'all can hear. Right. Put a 1 in the chat if y'all can hear the sound. Let me get a 1 in the chat if y'all can hear the sound. All praises.
I know how to be shot at. I know how to do this with somebody blocked with an out there doing that. Moving on the blocks with crazy, but deep down I ain't really like that. And I was playing a part of destroying my people with addiction and knew they could fight that. I had to look at myself and say, you ain't gotta be the next big me. You ain't gotta be me, Millie. They on your Philly, they look for a kicky. And Shalawam, but not being free. But my partners, I watch become tipsy. But this guy in the type of the side, now all this violence will do it just ain't free. Now I see what I earned out for. I guess they forgot that the most high did it. This time around, it's gonna be a fire. Everybody constantly turn to a other. This is the time to acknowledge your sins. Nothing so big before you get punished. It's a game to you don't hear, you ain't get caught for the top of that heavenly summit. Give up praise to the Lord because he gave me this truth. Hey, look. Get praise in the streets and I praise in the booth. Hey, look, I gave up my life while you give an excuse. Hey, look, so I'm praying that day when it's time for reward. My faith, my life is proof. On this narrow road, coming on 5 feet, it's cold. When you fall out, you stay 10 toes. Your call, but if you get choked, don't know what I'll do. If I would and found this true, don't know what I'll do. If I would never found this. I could have been in the jail with the cops smoking, or laid in the street with my top smoking. The shit get real when you playing in the field. Gotta move with the boy like stop motion. On the other hand, make the credit smile. But seriously, I am not joking to be a Cooper hoe or a street friend. Seem like the only two options open with that third option that now fast. So now that you barely can see it. Those other pants like Broad Street got a nigga thinking they clean. Now our women now got no shame. Only cities we see it. Got the nerves talk about teaching. They're stuck in the ways of the heathen. With them close friends, they don't like the fact that I'm teaching. When I told them we was got chosen, they just looked at me like I'm doing reaching. But they quick to ask why we suffer. And when you finally give them a reason, tell them stop sitting and they scheming. Then the word of God becomes treason. That's why my kids know the truth about Christmas. Hey, look, we got chickens out here in the trenches. Hey, look, so like Yahawashi, I'ma mind my business. Hey, look. But when you ready for commitment, then I'ma start pulling strips. Coming on 5 feet, it's cold. When you fall out, you stay 10 toes. Maybe y'all call, but if you get choked. Don't know what I'll do. If I would and found this true, don't know what. If I would never found this true.
All praise to the Most High. So that's the good brother Hyman, aka Young Bundles, featuring the brother Yasharahla, aka Rico. Right, the song's called Narrow Road. That's off of Hyman's EP titled Pain. Right, it should be on all streaming platforms. Right, so in addition to that, right, like I said, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel here, Yasharahla. Make sure you guys are subscribed here. Make sure you also subscribe to the House of Bread, right? We are live streaming and simulcasting here on House of Bread as well. So make sure you guys are tapped in with us as well over here. Additionally, make sure that you guys to stay in tune with everything House of Bread, right? Make sure you join the broadcast channel here on Instagram. Make sure you follow me at Instagram at LionOfYahawah, as well as following the camp at House of Bread Camp, underscores in between each word. All right. Make sure you tap in with us with our tassel affiliates, right? So myself, Gedalia Ariala, here on Instagram. We got the Bust Down Tassels here for you, right? Tap in with the good brother Yasharahla from Prestige Way Designs on Instagram as well. The links are in the description of every video. So everyone tap in for your tassels, right? Additionally, make sure you make your way over to HIBofficialzion.com and get you a copy of the Hebrew Israelite Bible, right? So I actually been doing a little cleaning and just reorganizing the home with the arrival of our baby boy. Just gotta make a lot of space for the kids, man. So I moved my studio downstairs to the basement. Got my bookshelf back here, tons of books. Of course, on it, you definitely want to get you a copy of the HIB, the Hebrew Israelite Bible. All right, that's available. Link in the description at HIBofficialzion.com. Right. So we're talking about today the good brothers over at Masada as well as the brothers over at Jeshrun. So House of Bread, we are former members of Sakari, right? If you've been under a rock, most I used myself to expose the evil that was going on in Sakari, right? Starting off at the head. And of course, that evil was going on with various members of leadership over the years, right? So, of course, we brought out that information just a little over a year ago, right? Right before Passover last year, brought out that information. And, of course, we broke off and we started House of Bread. Shout out to the Masada. Those are the brothers formerly of Sakari, Dallas. Yeah, shout out to some good brothers, Masada. Jeshrun, they were also members of Sakari. Houston, they broke off, joined Genesis. Of course, since Genesis came out with their Gentile breakdown, Gentile salvation, those brothers have broke off and done their own thing, and now they're known as Jeshrun, right? So shout out to them good brothers over there down there in Texas, man. So the brothers actually did a video. They did a live last week. They simulcasted it on the Masada Israelite School channel as well as Jeshrun's channel. And they went into how we've been keeping the Lunar Sabbath incorrectly, right? So if you have not watched this video, right, that the brothers have done, I would implore everyone to go ahead and tap in with the brothers, right? Make sure you watch the video, subscribe to Masada, subscribe to the brothers over at Jeshrun. I think Jeshrun is Jeshrun Space City. Let me see. Make sure we get to these brothers. All right. So you got the brothers over here, Jeshrun. This is their channel, Jeshrun on the Upright. So at Jeshrun the Upright. Make sure you guys subscribe to these good brothers over here. Right. So like I said, they simulcasted this this live stream here on Jeshrun as well as on the Masada. Right. So in this video, they went into how, again, we've been keeping the Lunar Sabbath incorrectly. Now, this is not anyone saying that the Sabbath is not determined by the feast days, I mean by the moon, because it is, right? Actually, before we dive into the video really quickly, priests, let's get Sirach chapter 43 and verse 6. You're on mute. You're on mute, Ak.
This is the book of Sirach 43. You want to start at verse 7 or verse 6?
Verse 6.
This is the book of Sirach, chapter 43 and verse 6. He made the moon also to serve in her season for a declaration of times and a sign of the world.
So let's stop right there. The Most High God created the sun, the moon, and the stars, right, to be our clock, right, to be our calendar, okay? And when we look at the Moon, right? That is the luminary body. That is the sign of the feast days, right? Every feast day is determined by the moon. Okay. For instance, Passover is to be kept on the 14th day of the first month. You cannot know what the 14th day of the first month if you don't know what the new moon or the first day of the month is, right? So the moon determines when these feast days fall, okay? So you have Passover is kept on the 14th day. Feast of Unleavened Bread follows right after on the 15th day and runs through the 21st day of the first month, okay? When we look at, for instance, the Feast of Trumpets, that's the first day of the 7th month, right? The Day of Atonement, right, is on the 10th day of the 7th month. You are to keep your Sabbath on the 9th day of the 7th month. And then the 15th day begins the Feast of Tabernacles. That runs through the 21st. And then the 22nd day is a Shabbat one, if you will, right? It's a special Sabbath where you, of course, you will be able to cook. Okay, so all of our feast days are determined by the moon. Okay, so it says that from the moon comes a sign of feast. Read on.
Verse 7, from the moon is the sign of feasts, a light that decreaseth in her perfection.
That what?
That decreaseth in her perfection.
A light that decreaseth in her perfection, right? So when we look at this scripture, there are brothers, I'm not going to say the name of the camp, right? But they'll take this scripture right here and they'll say, see, this is how the new moon is the full moon, right? There are people that believe that the full moon is the new moon. And we're going to demonstrate how that's not the case, okay? The new moon is not the full moon. The full moon is the full moon, and the new moon is the new moon, okay? So real quick, I'll grab it. This is the book of Psalm chapter 81, okay? I'll read it in the ESV, okay? It reads, I'll start at verse 3. It says, blow the trumpet at the new moon, at the full moon on our feast day, right? So when we take a look at this passage here in the Hebrew, right, where it says blow up the trumpet, right? And then we see the word ba chadash, right? Ba means in, chadash means new moon, right? Then it says shawapar, which is trumpet, right? Ba kasa, right? Ba meaning in, kasa meaning full moon, right? Now when you read the KJV renders it as appointed time, right? So it says blow up the trumpet in the new moon in the time appointed on our solemn feast day, right? So either way you slice it, if you're looking at the ESV or the KJV, we can see here, right, that we see a differentiation between the new moon, Chadash, and the appointed time or the full moon, right? The full moon is the word kasa, ba kasa, right? When we take a look at this word kasa, right, it means full moon. Properly, fullness, or the full moon, i.e., its festivals, appointed time. When we look at the etymology, it's the Strong's H3680, kasa, right? And it means to cover. It's a verb, which means to cover, to conceal, to overwhelm, to clad, right? To clothe. So let's break it down. When the moon is full, it's clothed with light, right? It's covered in light. Okay, very, very simple. So again, the new moon is not the full moon, but from the moon, that is the sign of feast, as we see here in Sirach chapter 43, right? Verse 7 says that it's a light that decreaseth in her perfection. When is the moon perfect? It's perfect when it's full, right? You have a new moon, then you have a waxing crescent, then you get to the what's known as the first third moon, right? Or as we look at it, it looks like a half moon. Then it waxes as a waxing gibbous. It becomes full when it's perfect, and then it decreases in its perfection. It becomes a waning gibbous, right? It becomes a waning crescent, and then it becomes new again. That's how the moon works, okay? So let's continue.
Verse 8, the month is called after her name, increasing wonderfully in her changing, being an instrument of the armies above, shining in the firmament of heaven.
So it's an instrument inside of the sky that's used, again, as we saw, to determine the feast days. And the month is called after her name. The word month, etymologically, in English, the English word month etymologically means moon, right? There's a phrase that says many moons ago. Oh, many moons. Oh, wait, I haven't seen this person in many moons. It's talking about months because the word moon and month etymologically are the same word. So the Sabbath, like every feast day, is still determined by the new moon, right? So now let's read Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 1.
It's the book of Leviticus, chapter 23, verse 1 in the KJV. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feasts of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts.
Even these are my feasts. So everything that we're about to read after this, these are the feasts. And last time we checked, from the moon comes the sign of feast. So the moon is in fact determined by the lunar phases, not by the solar phases, right? Hence Friday to Saturday, right? If you are a Friday to Saturday Sabbath keeper, I'm sorry to let you know that you're not keeping the Sabbath properly. Friday to Saturday is not, never has been, and never will be the fixed Sabbath. It just does not work. Okay. So let's read on.
Verse 3. 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest. An holy convocation, ye shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings.
It is the Sabbath of the Lord. So this is the first feast that's mentioned, right? What the brothers of Jeshrun and the Masada has forwarded, right, is that we had been keeping the Sabbath incorrectly as we once taught it, right? So what we would teach is that the new moon is a Sabbath, right? New moon, i.e. day 1, is a Sabbath. And then your next Sabbath, right, would fall on the 8th of the month, which is, so you have day 1, right? Your working days would be day 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? That's 6 working days. And then day 8 would be your first Sabbath. That's what we taught, right? And then, of course, the next one would be on the 15th, and then on the 22nd, and then we would wait to the next new moon. Now, dependent upon how many days that month had, you may have 2 or 1 transition days. And the argument against the lunar Sabbath was always, oh, show me the transition days in the Torah. Show me transition days in the Torah. And of course, we were able to, right, in demonstrating this in the 7th month. However, going off the premise that the new moon is indeed a Sabbath, right, is where we were incorrect. And the brothers of Jeshrun and the Masada did a great presentation, right, where they dove into this tons of history, right, tons of archaeology demonstrating how the new moon is not a Sabbath, right? Powerful presentation. Shout out to them good brothers, right? Again, the link. Actually, I'm gonna put the link in the description again, right? Let's put the link in the description, right? So the brothers went into a plethora of historical evidence, right? And of course, dove into the scriptures to demonstrate how what we were teaching were incorrect. So now the new understanding is that the Sabbaths, that new moon is not a Sabbath. New moon functions as an intercalary or a transition day, right? And it's important for determining when the month begins. All right, so this is day 1. That means the next day is day 2. The next day is day 3. And then your first Sabbath is going to fall on day 8, then on day 15, then on day 22nd, then on the 29th day. Now, when we look at the lunations, right, the lunar cycle is 29.5 something days, okay? Actually, let me go real quick. Let's go to timeanddate.com, right? I'm going to show you guys something, right? So if you go to moon phases, right? Moon phases. We just kept new moon, or or March the 18th, right? Now, if you notice right here in this column, right, where it has duration, right, this is the lunation or a lunar cycle, right, the lunar phases, okay? If you notice how it says it's 29 days, 16 hours, 9 minutes, right? Sometimes it'll be 29 days, 18 hours, 9 minutes, right? So it's a little over 29 days for the moon to change all its phases, right? To go through what's known as a lunation or a lunar cycle. With that said, right, if you look at new moon as a Sabbath, what ends up happening is between the day 22 and the next new moon, you could have 29 days or 30 days. And if that's the case, right? If that's the case, and it is the case, right? That means that if we're not looking at the 29th day as a Sabbath, that means we can either have one or two transition days. And that's a problem, right? So again, like I said, the brothers did a great job going into history, going into archaeology, going into scholarly sources, articles, things of that nature, demonstrating how in ancient Israel, we actually would have to go out and look to determine when the new moon came in, right? When we fast forward to the Second Temple time frame, right? So 1st century AD, right? We had something called the Sanhedrin. They would get together on the 29th of the month, right? And they would send out witnesses to look at the moon to see if the moon came in. Sometimes it might be cloudy. Sometimes the moon was invisible. All right, and they would go out the next day to confirm. Okay, did the new moon come in last night? Okay, it did, because now we can see the slither, the first slither of light. Okay, so that was a new moon, and here this day, this is day 2, right? This is how they would determine when the feast days, how the calendar worked each month, right? So because from the moon comes the sign of feast, it had to be observed. Today we have science, right? We have science, right, where we can track the lunations. We can track when these new moons come in, and we can determine when the month begins, and we can actually schedule out our feast day calendar. So just to let everyone understand, we here at House of Bread, we agree with the brothers of Masada, and we agree with the brothers of Jeshrun. Shout out to those brothers, especially the good brother LionOfYahawah for being very diligent, for showing himself to be a workman, right? Show himself to be someone who studies, right? To show himself approved, right? I remember when the brother hit me up a few months ago, and he was asking me some questions, of course, based upon this topic. And funny enough, before I came into the truth, what was super important for me was finding out when the Sabbath was. The Sabbath was extremely important to me, right? Many of you guys may or may not know, but I was a member of Epiphany Fellowship here in Philadelphia, under Dr. Eric Mason, right? And as I was coming into the knowledge of the truth, I knew we were the Israelites. I was just trying to navigate and find the right path and find the truth, right? And in that quest for knowledge and truth, I ended up meeting with Dr. Mason, right? And again, the topic was the Sabbath, right? And he gave me a bunch of BS answers, and it just didn't sit well with me. So I continued to study, continued to seek for knowledge. And as I'm trying to figure this out, I'm actually thinking about leaving the church, right? And joining, at the time I found out that they had what's known as 7-day Baptist churches, right? So they're not 7-day Adventists, but they're Baptists that actually worship on Saturday, right? So I was even thinking about diving to leaving and joining a church like that. And it's funny that I actually was first introduced to the concept of the lunar Sabbath from a former 7-day Adventist who used all the same scriptures that we use to prove the lunar Sabbath. Amos 8:5, Ezekiel 46, right? He went to a bunch of history and archaeology at the time as well. And he presented that the Sabbaths fall on the 8th, 15th, 22nd, and 29th. So I had heard about this before I came into Sakari. right? I was trying to figure this thing out, right? I was trying to figure out, okay, how am I supposed to keep these feast days in these appointed times, right? Then I joined Sakari, and as a prospect, one day brothers were like Shabbat Shalawam on a random Wednesday. I'm like, Shabbat Shalawam? I'm like, it's Wednesday. And they're like, oh, we keep the Lunar Sabbath. And they sent me a breakdown, right? And I watched that breakdown. I'm like, oh, snap, this makes sense. And the rest was history. But again, I'm just showing that before I even came into the truth, right, I heard about the Sabbath, of course, being based upon the lunar phases, but that the Sabbaths fall on the 8th, 15th, 22nd, and 29th of each month, right? And then fast forward to a few weeks ago, before the brothers of Masada and Jeshrun actually put out this presentation, another brother, another former Sakari brother, right? Shout out to the good brother Yasharahla out there in Boston. He's been hitting me up about this. He's like, bro, I think that the Sabbaths fall in the 8th, 15th, 22nd, 29th, right? So this is something that has been brewing, right, for quite some time. And what I want to be made perfectly clear, and what brothers need to understand, is that we are in a time where knowledge is increasing, right? Actually, I made a post about it on Facebook the other day, and a lot of people were questioning, well, what exactly are you talking about? So I made this post the other day where it says we are in a time where knowledge is increasing, right? Some of the things that we have been taught and subsequently taught have been incorrect. It's important to study to show yourself approved and advance in our understanding. I'm not too proud to say I was wrong on certain things, right? So this is what I was talking about, the lunar Sabbath. The idea that the Sabbath fall on the 1st, 8th, 15th, and 22nd, I was wrong about that. We were wrong about that, right? And here we are presenting to the nation, letting everyone know that we were incorrect. And now we're following the true understanding, the right understanding, in that the Sabbaths fall on the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, and the 29th of the month. Okay. And new moon serves as an intercalary day. All right. So if any of you guys have reached out about receiving the House of Bread feast day calendar, right? You had been given a calendar that was created before the year started, right? Since these brothers came out with this new information, right? Of course, I had to change it, right? Because when you're presented with the truth, you're presented with new information, right? You either accept it or you reject it. You either accept knowledge, accept wisdom, accept understanding, or you reject wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Right? I'm going to choose the former because the scriptures tell us that my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Right? So since the knowledge has been increased, right? Brothers did the knowledge, right? Here we have to, of course, take heed and make those corrections. Right? So the House of Bread feast day calendar, right? There's a couple places that you can get it, right? The link should be in the description of this video, right? Link should be in the description of this video. Actually, let me go right here. If you go to my page, right, and you go to my posts, well, did it actually? Oh, it didn't publish. Huh. I could have swore I posted it. I will post it on this channel, right? But what you can do is you can go over to my bio, right? And if you go to the links in my bio, right down here, right, HOB calendar 2026 to 2027, you can click on that link and it's going to take you to a Google Drive where you can download the feast day calendar. Okay. Now, actually, let me see. Before we brother Amaziah, I'm gonna tap into your question in a bit, right? We're gonna move on from this and I'll answer your question, right? But with that said, right, I want to show you guys. Actually, let me go ahead and add this. All right. All right. So this is the So this right here is the PDF that you can download. You can print this out if you want to. You can put it on your refrigerator, what have you, right? But what I want to do is I want to explain how the calendar works, right? And I'm gonna dive into how I formulate the calendar. All right. So actually, okay, that's not gonna work. We're gonna do like this. Watch this. Give me 1 second. Okay. Let's go ahead and okay. So let me go ahead and remove this. Stop screen share. And boom. Window. Okay. So here is our feast day calendar. Okay. Here's our feast day calendar. Let me actually go ahead and boom. Right. So here's our calendar. Okay. And the way that it's broken down, right? We have it month by month, right? So you got the month of Abib, right? You got Ziv, Sivan, so forth and so forth. Right now, last year, someone reached out to me and said, "Oh, you forgot the fourth month." The reason why I did not add the name of the fourth month is because what happened after the first temple was destroyed, we went to Babylon. What we did was we began to adopt the names that the Babylonians had for their months for our months, right? So you'll see in the Bible where Abib, where the first month is called Nisan instead of Abib, right? You'll see that throughout the text. That's because we adopted that from the Babylonians. And the name of the fourth month, according to the Babylonians, was Tammuz. Well, Tammuz is the name of a pagan god. I'm not going to put that on our holy calendar, okay? So, right, it gives you month by month, right? It gives you when the new moon or the new year is, obviously for the first month, right? It lets you know what date it begins. So, for instance, New Year was Wednesday, March 18th. So, again, a day, it's important to understand that a day is from evening to evening, right? So, basically, this column right here, family, is the evening to evening column, right? This column right here is the date in which this particular feast day or day falls, okay? So in the first month, right, of course, we have important days. Of course, we have the new moon and all the Sabbaths for regular months, okay? Right? And those new moons and those Sabbaths, they fall on the 8th, 15th, 22nd, and 29th of each month, okay? In the first month, we have day 10, right? Day 10 is important because we're told to separate our Passover lamb on the 10th of Abib. Now, all praise to the Most High, me and the good brother, the priest here, Yasharahla, we actually separated our lamb yesterday, right? Yesterday was the 10th day, right? So Friday to Saturday, right? Friday is when the 10th day began, right? Friday, March 27th. Saturday, March 28th. When the sun is up, that was part of that day, day 10. Okay. We separated our lamb yesterday on day 10. All praise to the Most High. Passover will be the 14th of Abib, which is this Tuesday, March 31st. Okay. So, of course, we have Pesach, right? And then, of course, the Feast of Unleavened Bread begins on the 15th day. It is a Shabbath. You are to do no servile work on that day, right? So if you look here on the calendar, right, we have, of course, the Sabbath restrictions. No work, no buying or selling, no kindling of fire or cooking, right? Again, note that a Hebrew day is from evening to evening. The yellow highlighted days are Shabbath, i.e. special Sabbaths. All Sabbath restrictions apply to these special Sabbaths, with the exception of cooking / kindling of fire. So, for instance, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, right, is on the 15th day of the first month. It is a Shabbath. We have to do no servile work, right? I mean, you're not supposed to go to the plantation, right? You do no servile work, but you can cook, kindle a fire for the feast. Okay. Day 16 is day 2 of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, right? And this is the day in which the wave offering would be brought before the priest. This is important because it's crucial in understanding and determining when the Feast of First Fruits or the Feast of Weeks or Pentecost falls, okay? Right, then we got, of course, day 17, 18, 19, 20, right? And day 21, which will be the 7th day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, it is a Shabbat one as well. You do no servile work. You can cook for the feast. Now, understanding that the Shabbat would be on the 22nd, right? You can't cook on the Shabbat. So you need to do all of your prep, right? You do your cooking for the Feast of Unleavened Bread on day 21, and you do all your prepping for day 22. You're not going to be able to kindle a fire or cook on day 22. Important to understand. All right. Now, right, in the presentation, the brothers also went into how we were incorrect about Pentecost, right? We were incorrect in our numbering of Pentecost, right? When you look at Leviticus 23, when we see the count for Pentecost, the KJV renders it in a way in which it adds some confusion, right? It says number 7 Sabbaths, and then it says on the morrow after the 7th Sabbath, you number 50 days. So when you read that off of face value, right, you say, okay, well, you number 7 Sabbaths, and then you add 50 days. So what we taught was that Feast of First Fruits falls roughly 100 days after Passover. We were incorrect about that, right? And the reason why knowing that the new moon is not a Sabbath is important in your feast day count for the Feast of Weeks or the Feast of First Fruits, right? And again, the brothers did an amazing job at presenting that. If you go on Jeshrun's page, they did a live a couple of weeks ago going into the Pentecost count, right? They break it down beautifully, okay? So now, on here on the calendar, right, again, right, Feast of Weeks is a Shabbat one, no servile work. This is Sunday, May 23rd, right, at evening, right? That's when you keep Feast of Weeks, okay? Obviously, right here, we got the month 7, right, another special month, right? We have the first day is a Shabbat one, okay? Feast of Trumpets is a Shabbat one, right? You can cook for the feast, okay? You keep your pre-atonement Sabbath on the 9th day instead of the 8th day, all right, in the 7th month. And you go right into Day of Atonement, day 10. Then the Feast of Tabernacles starts on the 15th day. That's day 1. It's a Shabbat one, right? The last day of Feast of Tabernacles is the 21st day. And then the following day, the 22nd, would normally be a Sabbath. It's a Shabbat one, so you can cook on this day, all right? And then everything else is pretty self-explanatory, okay? Now, of course, I always include the following year's first month, so we know that next year's Passover is going to be on Sunday, March the 20th, okay? That means that day 10, when you separate that lamb, is going to be March the 16th. So this is all laid out for you. Now, another thing what I want you to notice is how some of these months have 29 days. Some of these months have 30 days, right? And whenever you see a day 30 on a month, right, you got to understand that the new moon serves as a transition or intercalary day. So when a month has 30 days, new moon is celebrated for 2 days, okay? Now, when we look at 1 Samuel, where David and Jonathan, they come together, they have a plan about hiding from Saul. It goes into how on day 2, where they sat at meat and David was gone, Saul was upset. And that is an example of a 2-day new moon festival, okay? It's a 2-day new moon festival. So whenever you see a day 30, right, in the month, understand that you can celebrate new moon on that day and the following day. So for instance, right here in the 10th month, Day 30 will be January 6th, Thursday, January 6th, right? Brothers can get together on day 30, and brothers can get together on the next day, which will be day 1 of the 11th month, right? So this is important, right? Not much has changed. Not much has changed. The changes from 1/8/15/22 Sabbath to 8/15/22/29 Sabbath. Okay, very, very simple to understand, right? This is why I have the calendars laid out like this. All right. So actually, what I want to show you is, you brothers and sisters, you guys can actually subscribe to the Google Calendar, right? Let me just pull this up really quickly. Right, and I just want to show y'all this calendar, right? So this is my spreadsheet. I'm a spreadsheet guy, right? We're going to dive into this in a bit, right? So, like I said, you guys can subscribe to the Google Calendar, right? So if you have a Google account, right, what you can do is you can go to the link, right? The link should be in the bio. Let me just double check. Link should be in the bio of the video. Yep. So if you go into the description of this video, it is 1, 2, 3. So it's 3 links down, right? So it's going to be in the description of every video, right? You can click. Actually, let me just go ahead and just click this. I just want to show you, brothers and sisters, so you have it. Okay. Actually, I'm going to remove. Watch this. All right. So if you click the link, right? Link is right here in the chat, right? What you can do is you click on this link and it's going to bring you to this page right here, right? And you just click add feast day calendar, right? You add HOB feast day calendar. And what happens, right? You click. As you can see, let's actually go for a month view, right? You can see, right? You'll have the full calendar, right? With every single day, right? Every single day of the year, right? You'll know. So for right now, we're in the first month. Today, we are currently in day 12, right? We're currently in day 12, right? It's a working day, okay? Tomorrow at even will be day 13. It'll be a working day, right? And then of course, Pesach is a working day as well. This is the 14th, all right? So you're going to be able to see every single feast day, every single day in general of the calendar, right? And you'll get all the notifications so that you can be more prepared, right? So again, the link is in the description. Link is also here in the chat, right? You can click on this to add the feast day calendar, all right? So now, with that said, let's go ahead. I want to show you guys, again, how easy this is, right, to understand and what you're seeing on the visual, all right? So here is a spreadsheet that I have, right? I'm a firm believer in the phrase men lie, women lie, numbers don't, right? Numbers are important, right? So my first sheet, right, is I have a sheet called lunations, right? And this lets me know the day and times in which the new moons fall on, right? So this right here, March 18th, this is our Abib, right? This is day 1 of the month of Abib, okay? Now, what's important to understand, and this is for brothers and sisters who want to just create your own calendar, right? You want to get into it, right? If you're at a different camp or whatever, right? what you have to pay attention to is the time in which the new moon appears. Like, for instance, the new moon appears at 7:51 a.m. on the 17th of April. This will be the second month. Now, we have new moon set as as April 16th. Why? Because a Hebrew day is from evening to evening, right? Evening to evening. So I had to subtract that one day. The new moon started the 16th. Okay. And I do that for every single month, right? I have to pay attention to what time of day the new moon appears. This is important, right? So now, once I'm able to determine that, I have this spreadsheet right here where I have the calendar, right? This calendar, right? I can go, I got the next couple of years done, started, right? So I just want to show you. So, in this column right here, I have the date, right? This right here is just a copy of this, right? And the reason why is because when I go ahead and make the visual, I just want to show. I don't want to have this, all of this showing on the visual calendar. I want this, right? So this is a different format, different date format, right? This is the long date, right? This is a shorter date format. Okay, so what I'm able to do is, of course, determine when each month comes in, and then from there I go ahead and I fill in all those days, right? So because this is set, I was able to drag this all the way down, right? And this is literally day by day, day by day, by day by day, by day by day, all right, for years, okay? So based off of that, right, obviously the end date of whatever this event is going to be a day afterwards, right? So all I had to do was go in here and make a formula. This plus 1 equals, right, that date, okay? Now, the start times, and I'll show you guys on timeanddate.com, right? These lunations, I got all of this right here from timeanddate.com, right? Another thing that you look at on timeanddate.com is that you can look at sunrise and sunset times. And to determine when the day begins, I go based upon twilight, civil twilight, the end civil twilight. Okay. So what I was able to do here on my calendar to determine my start times and my end times, I did what's known as an X lookup, right? I know everyone's not technologically savvy. A lot of people don't know how to use Excel, right? But listen, there's tutorials online. Very, very simple, right? So I did an X lookup. So what this is doing is looking at this date, right? It's looking for this date in this sheet. And once it finds this date on this sheet, it's going to pull this civil twilight time, right? And it's going to fill that out right here. So now I know exactly what's going to happen, right, when these days come. So I don't have to do all this work for myself, right? Now, what's important is, in order to create that Google Calendar that you guys saw, all I had to do was take this event, take the start time, the start date, end time and end date, and a couple other parameters, and save it as a CSV file and upload a Google Calendar, right? So now this is how you're able to see all of these days. So now let's talk about how you properly count for the Feast of Weeks, right? What we got to understand is that the new moon days are intercalary days, and those do not count. You don't use that as the count for determining Feast of Weeks, right? So day 16, which is the day 2 of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, is day 1, is your day 1 count. All right. So we have day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, right? Day 7, day 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, right? I'm not going to count day new moon, right? This is day 14. This is day 15 right here, right? 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, right? 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Skip new moon. 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. This is how you're able to determine the Feast of Weeks. Now, when you count for Feast of Weeks, you have to count 7 Sabbaths. 7 Sabbaths, 7 times 7 is what? 49. The day after that Sabbath is going to be what? Day 50, i.e. the Feast of Weeks, or Pentecost, or the Feast of First Fruits, right? So the count, simple, right? Now, again, if we just, now, another way that we can count this, right? Watch this, right?
I'm about to get out of here, okay?
Khan, that's all good.
Shalom, bro.
Shalawam. So let's go here. Watch this. Give me a second. Watch this, family. I'll show you guys how simple it is, right? So, boom. This is day 1, right? Again, I should be able to also count 7 Sabbaths, right? And the day after the 7th Sabbath will be the Feast of Weeks, right? So this is day 1, right? Here's Sabbath number 1, right here. Sabbath number 1, Sabbath number 2. Now, what we used to do, right, is we would count this as Sabbath number 2. Well, this wouldn't even be a Sabbath, right? We would count this as Sabbath number 2, right? And then once we find the 7th Sabbath, we will add 50 days, right? And that was incorrect. So again, here we are. Here's Sabbath number 1, Sabbath number 2, Sabbath number 3, Sabbath number 4, Sabbath number 5, Sabbath number 6, Sabbath number 7, day 50. The day after the 7th Sabbath, right? That's how you determine the Feast of Weeks, or the Feast of First Fruits, or Pentecost, right? No. So no, Hosea, right? So let's look at it. Let's look at the spreadsheet, right? This is new moon / day 1 of the month of Abib, right? It's known as an intercalary day. It's important for determining the first day of the month. I won't be able to know what the second day of the month is, or the third day, or the fourth day, or the fifth day if I don't know what the first day of the month is, right? So this is the intercalary day, right? It would, in the ancient world, it would have to be observed, right? And it will go out on the 29th, right? They will go out the day after, right? To determine when the new moon came in, right? And sometimes what we see in the scriptures, as we see in the book of 1 Samuel, is we see a 2-day new moon festival, right? So again, these are intercalary days, right? So this is new moon. New moon is not a Sabbath. It's an intercalary or a transition day. Day 8 would be your first Sabbath of the month. Then you have day 15 will be the second Sabbath of the month. Day 22 will be the third Sabbath of the month. Day 29 would be the fourth Sabbath of the month, right? So now, if I come down to the third month, right? The third month, we have new moon. This is day 1, right? Day 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Day 8 is the Sabbath, right? We got our 6 working days. Then we have the Sabbath, right? Jump all the way down, right? Day 22, right? That's third Sabbath. Here's the fourth Sabbath, right? Day 29. Day 30, right? Day 30 is a transition day, and day 1 will be a transition day. And what you would do is you could get together and congregate with your congregation or your body or your camp, right? On both of these days. You can get together Sunday evening or Monday evening. But again, new moon serves as an intercalary day. It's important in determining what day 1 is. Okay. So some months have 30 days, some months have 29 days. The months that have 30 days, right? You can celebrate new moon on day 30 into the next day. All right. And again, remember, a day is evening to evening. All right. Evening to evening. So Sunday June 13th, right, is day 30 of the third month. Monday, June 14th at evening is new moon, day 1 of the 4th month. Okay, you and your family, you and your congregation can get together on either day or both days to celebrate new moon, right? Your first Sabbath will be, again, 7 days later on day 8. Very, very simple. All right. All praise to the Most High, brothers. Picking up what I'm putting down. So now, let's talk about Passover, right? So again, yesterday, right? If you look here on the calendar, right? Yesterday was Saturday. Today's currently Sunday, right? It's Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, we're on day 12. It's currently day 12, right? But yes, Saturday during the day, okay, was day 10, right? So day 10 was Friday to Saturday, evening to evening. So on Saturday, myself and the priest who just left, right, we went to separate our lamb for the Passover, okay? Passover will be this Tuesday, March 31st. Now, there's been a lot of talk, right? And I did a video on it recently. All right, so Shamar, right? I'll answer this brother's question, right? So, actually, let me just show you guys I'll show you on the website, right? So, how I determine the new moon days, right? So, if you go here to timeanddate.com, right? You go to timeanddate.com, right? You go over here to sun, moon, and space. You click down on moon phases. All right. Right here, you can search you can go from year 2026 all the way down to 2046. It has all of these lunations, right? So what I do is I copy this and I paste this in my spreadsheet, right? In my spreadsheet that I just showed you guys, right? Now, I have all the dates for new moon, right? I can go out to 2035, right? 2035, right? I'll know that the new moon is going to come in on March 9th, 2035 at 6:09 p.m. Okay? So this is where I get all the data from, right? What we have to pay attention to is the fact that a Hebrew day is from evening to evening. That's a Hebrew day. So, for instance, when I look at February 17th, right? March 18th was day 1 of the month of Abib, right? For us at House of Bread, February 17th, or I believe February 16th was the first day of our second Adar, right? We did 13 months last year, right? Notice how it says 7:01 a.m. The new moon appeared at 7:01 a.m., right? We understand that a day is from evening to evening. So the day that the new moon began was not February 17th. It was February 16th, right? So I take all of this information here. I copy it and I paste this into my spreadsheet, which I just showed you. I'll show you guys again. Now, from here, right? Again, you go to sun, right? You go to moon phases, right? From here, you can go over here to sunset and sunrise, right? And again, right here we have the month of March, right? 2026, right? I can go to April, right? I can go to May, right? I can go to all these dates, right? And I'm going to show you what's important here, right? So on here, I copy and paste all of this information, right? Copy and paste all of this, right? And I place this in my spreadsheet. Why? Because I'm trying to figure out at what time I'm starting each event, right? Because again, a day is from evening to evening. The way that your regular calendar is set up is a day is 12 a.m., midnight, that's when the day starts. That's not how Hebrew day starts. Okay. So now I copy and paste all of this information, right? And I put it into my spreadsheet. Okay. Again, I'm looking at the civil twilight end. So I know, for instance, on March 18th, 7:37 p.m., that's when that day began, right? At 7:37 p.m. So I copy and paste all of this information. I put in my spreadsheet, and this is how I'm able to determine the feast days, right? So now, right, if I show you my spreadsheet again, here's my spreadsheet, right? Move this. On my spreadsheet, again, I copied and pasted that lunation. I put that here on this spreadsheet, right? And I tracked this out into 2033. Okay. So I know all the lunations or when the new moon's going to appear, right? And what time for the next about 6 years, right? 6-7 years. Okay. So now I knew that my month of Abib, day 1, was March 18th because the new moon came in at 9:23 p.m. on March 18th, right? Now over here, right, I simply just use formulas, right? So boom, click equals, and here's enter, right? So equals D6. Here's D6. This is when I'm setting my new moon dates, right? Now, looking here at this second month, right, I'm seeing that the new moon is appearing at 7:51 a.m. Because a day is evening to evening, right, not midnight to midnight, how the Gregorian calendar is. In this cell right here, I put equals this minus 1 because April 17th minus 1 is April 16th, right? So I check and I do this for a few months, right? So I have the first year, right? This is next year, right? I determined that next year we're going to have a second Adar, and then boom, March 25th will be day 1 of that next year. All right. So once I determine when what dates these new moons are, right? I go to this sheet right here, right? This right here is simple, right? Every day in order, every single day in order. So because I was able to determine when my new moons fell in, I just plugged them in, right? So boom, new year, March 18th, right? Next new moon, boom, April 16th. Next new moon, boom, May 15th. And I fill that out for every year, right? And then I just come in here and I fill in everything else, right? So boom, day 2, right? And just put every single event. And then when I get to a month, for instance, month 3, right? I determine my new moon, right? For month 3, I determine my new moon for month 4. And because month 4 falls on June 14th, right? New moon for month 3 falls on May 15th. I just literally pulled out every single day, right? Day 28, day 29, day 30. So now I know this month has 30 days instead of 29 days. It's all predicated upon knowing when the new moon comes in. So that's how I'm able to determine that. All right. I hope that answers your question. And I hope that wasn't too confusing. Right. Now, talking about Passover, the brother here, Amaziah Josiah asked, can we really keep the Passover while in captivity? Because the food is defiled. I'm not sure that second part. I don't know why that was really relevant to the question, right? For a couple of reasons. One, the scripture tells us that we're going to eat defiled food amongst the Gentiles. That's Ezekiel the 4th chapter, right? Now, there are people, right? And I did a video on this about 2-3 weeks ago, right? Actually, let me go ahead and share my screen. Watch this window, right? Okay, so on my channel, a month ago, right? I put here, should we not keep Passover in America? Deuteronomy 16:5 plus HOB feast day calendar and more, right? So a lot of brothers and this has been a thing lately, right? Brothers and sisters saying, oh, you can't keep Passover, right? You can't keep the feast days because we're not in our land, right? And because Deuteronomy 16:5 says you can't keep the Passover outside of where the Lord placed his name, right? Now, shout out to the good brothers over at the Refiners, right? If you're not subscribed to the Refiners, tap in with them, right? So the Refiners, right? Make sure you subscribe to them good brothers, man, right? So they actually did a really good presentation a couple of weeks ago. Let me see. All right, boom, right? 3 weeks ago, they did this presentation. Only 304 y'all watched this video, right? They need to watch this, right?
The same way how I know we didn't.
So the brothers went into the scriptures and they demonstrated something very, very important, right? And I didn't even attack this question from the angle that they did, right? And I'll explain in just a second, right? So when we take a look at Deuteronomy chapter 16 and verse 5, it says, thou mayest not sacrifice the Passover, right? The Passover is the lamb, right? So it's saying you're not allowed to sacrifice the Passover within any of thy gates, which the Lord thy God giveth thee, but at the place which the Lord thy God shall choose to place his name. And there thou shalt sacrifice the Passover at even, at the going down of the sun, at the season that thou camest forth out of Egypt, right? And thou shalt roast and eat it in the place which the Lord thy God shall choose, and thou shalt turn in the morning and go ye up to thy tents, right? So, because of Deuteronomy 16:5, brothers saying, oh, you can't keep Passover, right, in America. Now, the way that I addressed this particular scripture was from the standpoint of we're not in the gates which the Lord our God gaveth us. We're in the land of our captivity, right? We were sent here as a punishment. This is not the land of our rest. The gates that God gave us, that was the land of our rest. We're not there. So the way that I was looking at it was from the perspective of this particular scripture does not apply to us because we're not in the gates. So for instance, right, if I was in Beersheba, right, or if brother Yohanathan, he's in the city of Shiloh, right, or this brother over here, he's in the city of Dan, or this brother is in the city of Dor, right, we would not be able to just sacrifice the Passover in those locations. We would have to do so where the Lord placed his name. Now, the good brothers over at the Refiners, they went in depth throughout the scriptures and demonstrated how in order to give a sacrifice, you must have an altar. Again, in order to give a sacrifice, you need an altar. So again, thou mayest not sacrifice the Passover within any of thy gates, which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Again, we're not in our gates at all, right? So on Tuesday, when we slaughter our lamb in commemoration of the Passover, we're not actually making a sacrifice because there's no altar. We're not building an altar, and we're not putting God's name on said altar, right? I want to show you guys this real quick, right? The book of Deuteronomy chapter 7, right? Watch this. Deuteronomy 7, and I'll start at verse 3. It says, neither shalt thou, actually, I'll just start from the top, right? It says, when the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land, whither thou goest to possess it, and has cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites and the Girgashites and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them, neither shalt thou make marriages with them, right? I read this in its entirety because people will take Deuteronomy 7 and 3 and they'll use it as a blanket scripture to try to say that interracial marriages are unlawful. That's not the case. I'm not advocating for brothers and sisters to marry outside of the nation, right? But that would be adding to the law, and the law tells us not to. Okay, so the them is in reference to these 7 aforementioned groups of people, right? We're going into the land of Canaan and taking it from the Canaanites. We were told to do what Israel's doing in Gaza. All right, that's what we were told to do to the Canaanites, right? It says, neither shalt thou make marriages with them, right? Thy daughters thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son, for they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. All right, how do we serve our God? By keeping the commandments. How do we serve other gods? By partaking in everything that's surrounded in their religion, in their worship, right? So for instance, how does one serve Molech? You serve Molech by taking your infant and putting your infant in the arms of this brazen bull, right? That's been heated up. That's how you serve Molech, right? So let's continue. It says, so will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly. But thus shall ye deal with them. Ye shall destroy their altars and break down their images and cut down their groves and burn their graven images with fire. Right? Now, why is this important? Right? These altars, what happens on the altars? Sacrifices are made on altars. These gods that the Canaanites worship, these altars would have the name of said God on that altar. Our altar would have Yahawah's name on said altar. Right? So when brothers and sisters are keeping the Passover, all right, I live in Philadelphia, right? Brothers that live in the UK, brothers that live in Puerto Rico, brothers that live in Colombia, brothers that live in Mexico, right? Brothers that live in Canada. When you keep the Passover, right, you're not sacrificing the Passover unless you are building an altar and putting Yahawah's name on it, which you should not be doing, right? And like I said, the brothers over at the Refiners did a fantastic job demonstrating how important it is to have an altar with the name of said God in order to give a sacrifice. All right. So yes, you can and you should be keeping Passover in the land of your captivity. Why? Because our God that we're supposed to serve, he gave us a very important instruction, right? Let's go to not just one instruction. He gave us several important instructions, right? Let's look at these instructions. First, Deuteronomy 18 and verse 18. Okay. It says, I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto thee, and I'll put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him, right? Who is this prophet? This prophet is none other than who the world calls Jesus Christ, Hamashiach Yahawashi. Okay? So now, right, God told us that. Let's look at what Yahawashi said to do, right? Right. If we go down to the book of Luke, right? Luke chapter 22 and verse 14. It says, and when the hour came, he reclined at table, and the apostles with him. And he said unto them, I have earnestly desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. For I tell you, I will not eat it until it is fulfilled in the kingdom of God. And he took a cup, and he had given thanks. When he had given thanks, he said, take this and divide it among yourselves. For I tell you that from now on, I will not drink of the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of God comes. And he took bread, and he had given thanks. he broke it and gave it to them, saying, "This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." Right? And likewise, the cup after he had eaten, saying, "This cup is poured out for you, is the new covenant in my blood. Behold, the hand of him who betrays me is on the table. For the Son of Man goes and has been determined, but woe to the man by whom he is betrayed." Right? So I read this for a reason. Yahawashi told us to keep Passover. What were they doing? Keeping Passover. He told us to do this in remembrance of him. He is our Passover lamb. You buying a lamb, like for instance, we're getting our lamb, like I live in Philadelphia. We're getting our lamb about an hour and a half away in Jersey, right? It's a small farm, right? The lady who we get it from, she raises sheep, she raises chickens, quails, pheasants, all types of shit like that, right? And she raises lambs, right, to sell to people, right? It's not defiled, right? It's not halal, right? It's a live lamb that we've separated on the 10th day, which was yesterday, okay? And we're going to get our lamb on Tuesday because that evening begins the 14th day, begins Passover, and we're going to slaughter that lamb, right? And we're going to cook that lamb, and we're going to keep the Passover, and we're going to eat unleavened bread and bitter herbs and drink wine, and we're going to do it in remembrance of Yahawashi, right? So Yahawashi told us to keep Passover in remembrance of him, right? So now, elsewhere, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 30, right? God told us to listen to this prophet, which is Yahawashi. Yahawashi said, keep Passover in remembrance of me, okay? And he knew that the temple would be destroyed. He knew that the temple and the altar, which had God's name there, he knew it would be destroyed. And even still, he told his followers to keep Passover in remembrance of him, right? So now, Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verse 1, it says, and when all these things come upon you, the blessing and the curse. Right now, we're going through the curses, right? We as a people are going through the curses. We're in the land of our captivity, right? It says, which I've set before you, and you shall call them to mind among all the nations whither the Lord thy God has driven you. And return to the Lord your God, you and your children, and obey his voice in all that I command you today, with all your hearts and with all your soul. That then the Lord your God will restore your fortunes and have mercy on you. And he will gather you again from all the peoples where the Lord your God has scattered you. The outcasts are in the uttermost parts of heaven. From there, the Lord your God will gather you, and from there he will take you. And the Lord your God will bring you into the land that your fathers possessed, that thou mayest possess it. And he will make you more prosperous and numerous than your fathers. So our deliverance is contingent upon us keeping the commandments, keeping all of the commandments, right? Yahawashi told us to keep Passover in remembrance of him. So using Deuteronomy 16 and 5, say, we're not going to keep Passover, right? You have to use that same logic to every other feast day, right? That means, I can't keep first fruits. I can't keep tabernacles, because according to the law, we're supposed to keep tabernacles in Jerusalem, right? Or where the Lord placed his name, right? That means you then have to extend that logic to the Sabbath, because that's also a feast day. So now should I now buy and sell and kindle fires? And should I now just do whatever I want to do on the Sabbath day because I'm not in the land? No, that's ridiculous, right? So again, the Most High told us that he'll deliver us when we come back and keep all his commandments. We got cast out of the land for not keeping the commandments. When we read in the histories, we read about how our people were not keeping Passover. We're not keeping the feast days. We weren't keeping tabernacles. That's why we got kicked out. Great point. Tobit kept Pentecost in Nineveh. Great point. Is that the brother? Oh, that's the brother. Because shout out to that good brother, man. Right. Shout out to all my 17, 15 brothers, man. Right. All my brothers who really has Yahawah as their banner. Right. Who really have Yahawah as their banner, not the niggas that really was faking the funk, right? But great point, brother Kazak, right? So again, Tobit kept Pentecost in Nineveh, right? I saw the other day, someone of a baser sort had posted something saying, "Oh, Daniel fasted for X amount of days, and he started on the third day of the first month, so that means he didn't keep Passover." And I've heard this argument before, right? Daniel was in Babylon, he didn't keep Passover, right? That's all fine and well. That's prior to Yahawashi coming on the scene. Yahawashi told us to keep Passover in remembrance of him. Now, again, you cannot, shout out to my good brother Dakar from Refiners, you cannot give a sacrifice without an altar. So if you are keeping Passover as a commemoration, right, and in remembrance of Yahawashi, as long as you're not building an altar and putting Yahweh's name on it, you're not breaking Deuteronomy 16:5. What you're doing is you're being obedient to Yahawashi, ultimately being obedient to the Most High God Yahweh. Okay? And you're commemorating the Passover. Okay? Now, let's dive into Feast of Unleavened Bread, right? So in Leviticus 23, where we see our feast days, right, we're told, right, keep the Feast of Unleavened Bread, right? It says on the 15th day, verse 6, that same month is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. For 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. On the first day you shall have a holy convocation. Should not do any ordinary work, but you shall present a food offering to Yahweh for 7 days. On the 7th day of the holy convocation, you shall not do any ordinary work, right? So an offering, a sacrifice, you need a altar. You need an altar. So now, should I not keep Feast of Unleavened Bread? Should I eat leavened bread from the 15th to the 21st because I can't keep the Feast of Unleavened Bread perfectly because there's no temple, there's no altar with God's name, and I can't bring that offering? Is that what I should now teach? Hey, don't even worry about keeping God's feast days because you can't offer it unto God anyway. Again, you can't make an offering without a altar. You need an altar. So see how this logic, this antinomian logic that a lot of these really a bunch of pothead niggas are coming up with, right? See how this logic doesn't make sense? So now, I've been in the truth since 2018, right? So I'll be 8 years in the truth this upcoming fall. And for years, right, every year around this time, right, I see a list of leavening agents that brothers are presenting, and they say, remove all this stuff from your house, right? I want to show you guys something, right? All right. So here in Exodus chapter 12, right? So 7 days shall you eat unleavened bread. On the first day you shall remove leaven out of your houses. For if anyone eats what is leavened from the first day until the 7th day, that person shall be cut off from Israel, right? I don't want to be cut off from Israel. So I'm going to remove leaven out of my home, right? So let's take a look real quick, right, at what this word leaven means, right? So watch this. Right? Watch this, family. So this word translated as leaven, sha'ar, right? Strong's H7603. Leaven. What does it mean? From H7604, barm or yeast cake as swelling by fermentation, right? Let's take a look at this word, this etymology. The etymology is leave, remain, remnant, right? Why is this important? You might ask. Good question. Eating in haste. We will be eating in haste, right? We will be eating in haste. So our program for how we're going to keep Passover, these are things that we're going to do, right? Of course, we're going to pray. We're going to read Exodus 12, right? We're going to eat the lamb and the bitter herbs in haste, right? After that, right, what we're going to do is we're going to take unleavened bread. We're going to pass it out to everyone. We're going to take wine. We're going to pass it out to everyone, right? We're going to break the bread. We're going to lift the bread. We're going to say, Bazakar Yahawashi, in remembrance of Yahawashi. And then we're going to eat the bread. Then we're going to take the cup. We're going to raise the cup. We're going to say, Bazakar Yahawashi, in remembrance of Yahawashi. They're going to drink the cup, right? And then we're going to do what Yahawashi, the example that he gave us in John, I believe it's the 12th chapter. Give me 1 second. I'll tell you in a second, right? In John, the 12th chapter, I believe it is. John, the 13th chapter, right? We're going to wash each other's feet, right? Yahawashi did this at the Last Supper or when he kept Passover, right? So I would say yes. I would definitely eat the lamb in haste. Okay. All praise to the Most High. Right. We got to rehearse these righteous acts, right? So now going back to this word for leaven, right? The word sha'ar, right? It's etymologically connected to the verb sha'ar, which means to leave, right? To leave or to remain. So how was bread made, right? You have something known as grain, right? You have barley, you have wheat, you have kamut, you got spelt, you got einkorn, right? You have all these different grains, even corn, that's a grain, right? You take it, you separate the fruit of the wheat or the grain, you separate it from the stalk, from the chaff, right? You take your grain, you grind it at the mill, and you turn it into flour. You take that bread is simply flour and water, maybe some salt, maybe some oil, right? That's all bread is. Unleavened bread is bread that has not been left over to allow for a process known as fermentation. So this word for leaven, sha'ar, it means fermented grain. That's what it is. So you take flour. Let's say, for instance, I'll grab a bag of grain, right? Right here, this is a bag of spelt berries. It's the type of grain, right, that you can make spelt flour with. You take the grain, you grind it up, okay? So what you would do is you would take the grain every day, right, and you will grind the grain, and you will make your daily bread. Bread was the main staple in our diet, okay? Bread, okay? You take the grain, you grind it, take that flour, you mix it with water. You let it sit, and what happens is the natural bacteria and yeast on the grain and in the flour and in the air, what it will do is it will start to eat some of the compounds in the flour, right? The starches, and it will ferment it, and it causes it to rise. So this yeast and bacteria, as they eat and they reproduce and they what's the word I'm looking for? They release waste. That waste is carbon dioxide, and it allows for that flour or that lump to rise. Today, it's commonly known as sourdough. You ever heard of sourdough bread? Right? That sourness comes from that fermentation. This is what leaven is in reference to. It's not talking about baking soda. It's not talking about baking powder. It's not talking about this long list of chemicals that did not exist back here, right? In this day when this was written. That's not what it's talking about, right? It's talking about actual leaven, actual fermented grain, right? Fast forward to the modern time, right? We have something known as baker's yeast. It's created in a lab. You can go buy some yeast, you add it to your flour, and then boom, it speeds up that process because it's yeast that's just been collected, harvested, and you add it to your flour to make that dough rise. So am I saying that you shouldn't throw out your baker's yeast? I'm not saying that. You should 1000% throw out your baker's yeast. You should 1000% throw out any, let's say you have Oreos or you got some naan bread, some frozen naan bread from Trader Joe's in your freezer, right? Let's say you got some scallion pancakes from Trader Joe's in your freezer, right? That stuff is leavened with modern day leavening agents. It's bread. You're not allowed to eat it. You should get rid of that. But should you be worried about throwing away your Arm & Hammer baking soda toothpaste? No. Should you be worried about throwing away your OxyClean because it has baking soda and has whatever chemical in it? No. Right? That's not what that's talking about. Right? Things that are already prepared foods, cakes, cookies, shit like that, right? Your Chips Ahoy, your Oreos, all that good stuff, throw that away. It has been leavened, right? Throw that away. But your regular baking soda that you have in the back of your fridge to keep down odors, don't worry about that. Throwing that away, right? If something's already been baked with baking soda or baked with baking powder, throw that away. But baking soda by itself is not a leavening agent. It only leavens when it interacts with an acid, right? So if you're making pancakes and you put in baking soda, and you throw in some buttermilk, the buttermilk is acidic. The acid in the buttermilk reacts with the baking soda and it creates bubbles. It leavens it. Don't cook with baking soda. Don't cook with baking powder. Pop-Tarts. Yes, throw away Pop-Tarts. It's leavened, right? If it's an already prepared baked good that has baking soda or baking powder in it or yeast in it, throw it away. Throw it in the trash. Don't put it in your mailbox or your trunk or your shed. Don't do that, right? Get rid of it. Okay? So, again, we're talking about leaven, right? You got to get the leaven out of your house, right? I know the vast majority of people are not making sourdough bread, right? Here at the House of Ariala, right? We make sourdough, right? My wife's been making my wife's really good at baking, right? She makes sourdough bread, right? She makes fresh bagels, right? All types of stuff, right? So we have sourdough starters. Guess what? Passover comes, we will be removing it. Get rid of it. It's going in the trash, right? We just collected all the stuff that we got on our deep freezer, stuff in our pantry that is baked goods that has baking powder, baking soda in it. We removed it from our house. Yes. Anything that you can consume, right, that you can eat, any food that you can eat that has baking soda or baking powder or yeast in it, you need to remove from your house. You need to throw it away. All right? You need to throw it away. The baking soda that's in your refrigerator, it's in your refrigerator, collecting all the smells. You don't need to throw that away. Your Arm & Hammer toothpaste, you don't need to throw that away. That's not sha'ar, right? If you have baker's yeast in your house, you should get that out of your house as well. All right? Very, very important. So this person asks, so what if someone that lives in the same household that's not in the truth that has leavened food? Don't worry about them, right? If it's yours, let's say, for instance, you have a roommate, right? Your roommate's not in the truth. Or let's say you live at home with your family's not in the truth, right? Anything that is yours that you purchased that has leaven in it, remove it, right? If you bake and you got baker's yeast in your house and you live with someone else, remove it. If they have a loaf of bread and they're not in the truth, don't throw their shit away, right? Focus on yourself. That's a good question. This question comes up every year, but it's a good question, right? Any other questions? Again, like, it's crazy. These long ass lists. I saw a list. Actually, let me find it real quick. Let me find it real quick. So a brother sent me a list that another camp put out. With all these chemicals and whatnot. Sodium phosphate benzoate. Something crazy like that, right? It's a huge laundry list of chemicals. The vast majority of you guys are not even going to see that stuff, right? I'm going to answer another question. Every single year, the same brother, vinegar is not a leavening agent. Again, vinegar is not a leavening agent. Yep, brothers will always say, oh, get rid of vinegar. No. Niggas say eggs. Eggs is not a leavening agent. All right, let's see. So, Brother Yashar says, many say just because a lamb product says halal on it, that we can do what Paul says and pray on it, but say many have Paul misinterpreted. We wouldn't eat any foods with halal. Yeah, don't eat anything that has halal. So, what I will say is this, right? And shout out to the brother Mahalab. Me and him had a conversation a few months ago on Paul's epistles on 1 Corinthians, I think chapter 8 and chapter 10, right? And what the brother Yashar is asking about, right? And he made a comment. He said, "Listen, I had spoken with a brother who worked in, the meat industry, and the overwhelming majority of lamb in America is halal, right? Halal is unlawful. Do not eat anything halal. If you can see and prove that something's halal, do not eat it, because things that are halal are sacrificed to Allah, the God of Islam, which is not the God of the Bible. The God of Islam is the God of Christianity, the God of Judaism, not the God of the Bible. The God of the Bible, YAHAWAH, right, the Most High God, right, he is only worshipped by Hebrew Israelites. Okay, Muslims don't worship him, Christians don't worship him, and the small hats don't worship him. Okay, we're the only ones that worship the Most High God, Yahawah. Okay, so eating something that is halal, you're eating something that has been sacrificed to a false god known as Allah. Okay, don't eat anything halal. So again, we far too often, brothers and sisters in the truth like to make excuses for things, right? And we have to move on towards perfection. Actually, let me get that real quick. The book of Hebrews chapter 6, right? I love this I love this passage right here, right? I'm reading the ESV. It says, therefore, let us leave the elementary doctrine of Christ and go on to maturity, not laying again the foundation of repentance from dead works and of faith toward God, right? Repenting and moving in faith towards God. These are the first steps, right? This is the foundation, right? When you build a house, after you built the foundation, you don't rebuild the foundation again, right? When you already built the foundation. After you started doing your framing and your plumbing and your electrical, you don't build the foundation again of that same house. It's already built, right? So in this same analogy, the writer of Hebrews is telling us, let's move on to maturity, right? The KJV says, let us move on to perfection, right? Christ says, be therefore perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect, right? So we have to be in the same mind of moving on to maturity, right? Moving on to perfection, not laying again the foundation of repentance from dead works and believing or having faith in God, right? It says, and of instructions about washings and laying on of hands and the resurrection of the dead and eternal judgment. And this we will do if God permits. For it is impossible in the case of those who have once been enlightened, who have tasted the heavenly gift and have shared in the Holy Spirit, and have tasted the goodness of the word of God and the powers of the age to come, right? We're waiting for the age of our kingdom to come, right? It says in verse 6, and then have fallen away, right? So if you've tasted the good news, right? You've partaken in the knowledge of the power of the age that God's getting ready to bring us into, right? If you've fallen away, right? It says, and then have fallen away, to restore them again to repentance, since they are crucifying once again the Son of God to their own harm and holding him up to contempt, right? So the writer of Hebrews is letting us know that when you have to continue to repent from the same dead works that you already repented from, right, you're crucifying Christ afresh, right? Paul has a very similar sentiment. He says, shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? God forbid. How can we who are dead to sin live any longer therein? That's Romans chapter 6. And Romans chapter 3 and verse 31 says, shall we continue, shall we make void the law through faith? God forbid. Yea, we establish the law, right? So it's important to move on to perfection and not making excuses, right? So me being a mature individual in the faith, right? I've spent some time in this thing, right? And I've, of course, gotten more advanced, right? Have gotten more serious and walked more steadfastly in the faith, right? There's mistakes that I made in the past that I don't make anymore, right? I'm moving on to perfection, right? So if I recollect on my time in the truth, right? I was actually just shared on Facebook the other day, right? This was my first Passover, right? You know how Facebook gives you all these memories and whatnot. This is a memory from 2019, right? This was my first Passover that I kept in San Diego, right? When I was a member of Sakari. This was my first Passover, right? My second Passover, right? I started cooking the lamb. So from that Passover on, I started cooking the lamb. And we would get lambs from regular butchers and whatnot. And again, understanding that more times than not, lamb here in America is halal, right? We were more than likely getting halal lambs, right? It is what it is. I know now that I'm not getting no halal lamb, right? So more than likely, the lamb that you're getting at the grocery store is more than likely halal, right? So you need to get a whole lamb, right? When we look at the instructions for Passover, right, you're supposed to take a whole lamb, right, per house. If the house is too small, that house and their neighbors, they share lamb together, right? You need to have a whole lamb, right? Buying a little lamb chops or a leg of lamb from a lamb that you don't know how old it was, a lamb that you don't know if it was a male or female, that you're going to cook in honor of the Passover, right? Yeah, I know brothers and sisters who've done that, right? Yes, me being a member of Sakari in times past, right? We had lambs, had broken bones, right? When you got the lamb, the head's off, the feet are off, right? And we roasted that lamb in remembrance of the Passover, right? That was not to the letter, right? It was just this last year, right? This past year that we were able to actually get a lamb of the first year and slaughter, right? So actually, I'll show you guys real quick, right? So you come here to House of Bread, right? You scroll all the way down 11 months ago, right? This is a recap of our Passover last year, right? So this is us on the 10th day, right? At the farm, right? I'm going to just mute this, right? Here's us at the farm on the 10th day, right? Right, we drove about an hour and a half to get here, right? Here are all these lambs, right? These are male lambs of the first year, right? Here we are talking to the farmer, right? Not a Muslim, right? So she's not slaughtering these lambs in the name of Allah. She's not saying Bismillah, right? So regular lambs that this lady sells, right? Here we are, right? We selected our lamb, right? And we separated him, right? Here he is separated, right, from the rest of the flock. And he was tripping, right? The lamb was tripping because lambs, right, sheep, goats, they are communal animals. They roll around in herds or flocks, okay? So here we are, right? Not technically the 14th day. This is the 13th day, right, during that we went to pick it up, right, and we brought it to my house. Right, we went, got the lamb, right? That was a baby goat, right? And here we are arriving at my house, right? This male lamb of the first year that we're bringing through my house, right? Into our backyard, okay? Whole lamb, right? So here we are prepping, right? Got the plastic to lay out so we don't get blood all over the place. Right, here's getting the fires ready, right? I'm gonna here I am getting the lamb, right, just getting him nice and calm and whatnot. Got a bucket ready to catch the blood, right? And I'm gonna skip this part for YouTube purposes, right? Sun goes down, we slaughtered the lamb, we took the blood, put the blood on the doorpost, right? Right. So all praise to the Most High, right? Last year was our first time being able to keep the Passover to the letter, right? The only thing was we didn't have hyssop, right? We didn't have hyssop because it was just too cold. Our climate here in the northeast of America is a little different than the climate in Israel, right? So we weren't able to get hyssop to put it on the doorpost. So we got a similar plant and we used it and put the blood on the doorpost, right? But again, all praise to the Most High. We're going to the same farmer that we went to last year, right? We separated that lamb yesterday, which was day 10, and on Tuesday at evening, we'll begin day 14, and we'll slaughter the lamb as well. And, keep the feast day, right? All praise to the Most High. So again, family, that's pretty much it, right? Again, when it comes to Feast of Unleavened Bread, right? You want to get rid of baker's yeast. If you make sourdough, you want to get rid of your sourdough starter, right? Sourdough starters are known as pre-ferments, right? It's fermented grain. You want to get rid of that, right? You want to get rid of any baker's yeast. You want to get rid of any prepared baked goods, cookies, Pop-Tarts. Some of your cereals may be leavened, right, with baking soda, baking powder. Remove that. Anything that's cooked that has baking powder, baking soda as an ingredient, remove it. Don't eat it, right? Throw it in the trash, all right? But these long-ass laundry lists of all these chemicals, right, your damn OxyClean and your Arm & Hammer baking soda that's making your fridge smell better, that's not the leaven that the Torah is talking about, all right? Any questions before we get up on out of here? Right, again, make sure you brothers and sisters like and share the video. Right, make sure you like and share the video. Again, if you go to the description, right? So if you go to the description of the video, you can click here to subscribe to the Google Calendar. Right, this is the link. You can subscribe to the Google Calendar, right, and you'll have access to our calendar, right, our feast day calendar, right. If you come to and I'll be updating it on House of Bread. But if you go to House of Bread Instagram, right, I'll update this. This is the old calendar, right. I'll update it in a minute. But if you go to here, or if you go to my page, right, and click on the links in the description in my bio, right, here you can actually download the calendar. All right. Very, very simple. All praise to the Most High. Any questions, family? Any questions before we get up on out of here? Let me see if I missed any questions. All right. All right, seems like we have no questions. All right, again, family, all praise, glory, and honor to the Most High God, whose name is Yahawah. Appreciate you, brothers and sisters, tapping in with us. All right, again, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Again, like, share, subscribe to this channel. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, right, to House of Bread, right? Shout out to the brothers of Masada, the brothers of Jeshrun, the brothers of the Refiners. Subscribe to those good brothers as well, right? Tap in. All right, with that, I want to give all praise, all glory, all honor to the Most High God, whose name is Yahawah. Of course, I do so in the name of his only begotten Son, Yahawashi, with the world, and we call Jesus Christ. Till next time, Shalawam, family, and Mawaf Lababal.